Hi there and welcome to More Can Modular in 2025. Hope you had a great Christmas and New Year. Welcome to the ABC of Modular. Today's letter is going to be B and we'll get onto that in a minute. First of all, apologies for the late video. I am committed to very low production values, always, but I was horrified by the kind of state of this room and it really upset me. So I redecorated it over Christmas and painted some stuff just to make it a bit nicer. In terms of today, we're going to look at Bucket Brigade Delays, Buffered Mults and bandpass filtering, but also I wanted to touch on some of the giants of modular synthesis, so Harold Bode and Don Buchla. Bode was born in 1909 in Hamburg, Germany. He lost his parents when he was 18 years old. He graduated from the University of Hamburg in 1934 and in 1935 began in the field of electronic instruments. His first invention appeared in 1937. It was called the Warbow Formant organ, fantastic name, a 4-voice key-assigned keyboard with formant filters and dynamic envelope controller. That's a version of polyphony, multi-key notes if you like, in 1937. He beat Hammond, who released their Novacord in 1939 at the World's Fair in the US. Harold developed the Mellochord in 1947, which saw use by Bonn University in their electronic music studio. In the early 50s, he developed electronic organs for AWB in Germany and the SD Organ Company in the States, more mainstream. He emigrated to the US in 1954, employed as chief engineer for SD, where he would later become vice president. Between 1959 and 1960, he designed and built a modular synthesizer, making him the first in the world to do so. Truly the father of modern modular synthesizers. After talking at conventions and extolling the virtues of the new transistors, his designs were expanded on by many others, including Don Buchla and Bob Moog. Bode went on to work for Norlin, who owned Moog, after Bob Moog left in 1977. Harold died in New York in 1987, and his achievements can be missed. The focus of synth history is often with those that came after. That does bring us neatly on to Don Buchla. Born in California in 1937, Don studied physics, physiology and music at Berkeley, graduating in 1957 as a physics major. He formed Buchla and Associates in 1962 and began designing modules for the San Francisco Tape Music Center thanks to a commission from composers Morton Subotnick and Raymond Sender. Apologies if I pronounced those badly. The Buchla electronic music system first appeared in 1965 and became commercially available in 1966 as the System 100. It was briefly sold to consumers by CBS, who dropped the product in 1969 as they saw no future in it. Undeterred, between 1970 and 1987, Buchla released the System 200, which was produced for like 20 years, 300, 400 that had a video display, the Buchla 500, which was the first digitally controlled analog synthesizer, and the 700, which had full MIDI implementation. Throughout the history of Buchla synthesis, there seemed to be a desire to get away from tradition of the keyboard. Buchla appeared to want to explore alternative forms of sound design and music making. His instruments featured more experimental approaches than a keyboard. They often used capacitive touch or sequencing to kind of program the music or make music. This design ethos is often referred to as West Coast style of instrument. Sadly, Don passed away in 2016, but his legacy is alive and well. A new company, Buchla USA, was incorporated in 2018 and continues to sell the Buchla 200E, which is kind of a slight variation on the original 200. This, of course, is only a glimpse into the lives of these two fascinating men, and I hope it sparks some interest to find out more. After all, modern synthesizers and the wealth of electronic music rests on the shoulders of these giants. Throughout these videos, we will scatter some more important people that have been important in electronic music and modular synthesis. But now I guess we get on to messing around with synthesizers. And the first kind of thing we'll look at is the Bucket Brigade Delay. What I'm going to do is patch up some drums so we can hear the delay in action, and I'll kind of talk you through how that works and what it does. I'm not an expert on this. I frequently mess it up. I'll probably have to do about 25 takes for this video. The other reason this video is late is because I actually have to edit it and stuff, whereas normally I just do it on my phone. So apologies for that. Apologies for the production quality. Low as always, but we'll have a go. So let's have a look at Bucket Brigade Delays then. I don't actually have a proper true Bucket Brigade delay. What I do have is a 2 HP delay, and that's kind of based on the Bucket Brigade delays. They were an early design of delay effect where the input audio would be sampled as an analog voltage. It'd be held for a brief moment, and then the next above audio sample rate clock pulse, this voltage would get passed to the next sample and hold, and so on, hence the buckets. It's like buckets overfilling with water. So you could have massive number of buckets to the powers of 2, 256, 512, 1024, 2048, and so on, and that determines the delays, or the number of delays, and then the length can be sorted out by use of the controls. So to hear what that's like, I've just got one drum patched in at the moment, and we'll just hear that. So I'll start the clock, and you can hear the repeat of the delay. So controls wise, here on the 2 HP, we've got this one, which is time. So if I bring that back, I'm getting that kind of dubstep kind of sound. Real snappy and quick. And then basically almost off. You can just hear it in the background though, springing. Next control we've got is feedback. It kind of makes the delay, the echo louder, and it will feed back into itself. You almost get that kind of resonance going, and it will just get louder and louder and louder until we cut it back. And the last control is the dry wet. So this way we just get the dry signal, so there's no delay in that at all, and then as we wind that up we'll get the delay, and we could have just delay. You add some other drums, and we can obviously, using this strips mixer from Frequency Central, we can decide how much of the signal we want to send to the delay and back. So it's got a send and return signal, which is great. So we'll unmute some of these. The hi-hats are coming from this Disting Mark IV. It's playing some samples. You can change the sample, obviously. So let's send some more of those signals through to the delay. That's the hi-hat. Oops, that's the hi-hat. And there you go, Bucket Brigade Delay. Although 2 HP delay, kind of similar thing. The next one we'll have a quick look at is Buffered Mults. I'll be back in a minute. So what I've done here is I've patched in 3 oscillators and I've tuned them up, so they should be fairly in tune. Probably not perfect. And we've got a normal multiplier here, so there's no buffering in this. And what a buffer does is it kind of makes sure that the same voltage that goes into it comes out of it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to patch these into the voltage control inputs. We'll hear the notes change, but that's not really a problem. And then I've got a clock going into Ornament and Crime, running, I can't quite remember the name of the program, we'll see it in a minute. There we go. And I don't know whether you can hear, but one of those oscillators is slightly out of tune. And the more we copy this initial signal, the more out of tune they'll go. So if we carried on copying down here, we'd probably get, you know, worse results. We could probably simulate that if we just stuff some cables in. In fact, I can send them to some oscillators that aren't, we won't be able to hear them, just to see what happens. Because I'm kind of curious, because I understand the concept, but I haven't ever actually tried it to see if it's true. Where can I shove this one? Run out of oscillators. Never. There's another one here. Well, that noise you can hear is me banging my head against the microphone every so often, which I apologise for. I'm not sure why that keeps happening. It's kind of cramped in here, you can't see it. There's a camera here, microphone here, light over there. Nightmare. So just plug one more in there. And we'll see. Yeah. It's gone very out of tune now. And that's because each time we copy the signal, we're losing some of that voltage. So instead of that, I'll just mute those for a second. What we can do is we can use a buffered multiple. So the difference with a buffered multiple is it's got a little bit of, I don't know quite how it works, but it kind of samples a little bit and holds the signal, but there's no delay. It's kind of magic. So we'll see what we get then. Oops, wrong cable. So this is just a cheap to carb buffered multiple. Really inexpensive to carb. They're really kind of good value for money. Really simple modules, but they're kind of essential. And this kind of thing is essential for modular. You need buffered multiples and you need multiples. So the multiples here are really, really useful for carrying CVs from envelopes and low frequency oscillators, things like that. I don't know how many I've plugged in there. 1, 2, but I had 3. That one's the missing one. I'll put the algo in. That's the RYK algo. And of course I've pulled out the, what have I done? See, the only trouble with modular is trying to keep track of what you're doing. What I've done there is a bit crazy stuff. Plugged the wrong thing in. So we've got that to there, that to there, that to there, missing one, and that one to mutable instruments braids. Oops, sorry. I'm either knocking the camera or the microphone, I can't help myself. So now they're kind of tuned as they were tuned. Most oscillators do drift a little bit over time, and mine are no exception. I think it's possibly the braids that drift. It could be the frequency central. So let's use the other multiple, which isn't buffered, to take the LFO. So we'll take an unsynced LFO, just rising and falling slowly over time, and we'll modulate some of these with that, just for fun. And the power of modular synthesis really is this: it's control voltages. Control voltages changing sound over time. And I guess this is why it's so addictive, because you could spend hours and hours and hours just figuring out how to make weird, strange sounds. Power of a buffered mult. The other thing I thought we'd have a look at was bandpass filter. So the only bandpass filter I've got really is this one. It's a frequency central state 700 filter. I think he's redone this one now. It's got a new name, but it's kind of a similar kind of thing. I think it comes from a Roland system originally. And what we should be able to do is take the audio signals from a couple of these. We'll mute one of them. Which one should we mute? I'm kind of digging those two. So I'm going to take these two and put them into the bandpass filter. And we'll get an output going from there. And we'll tap the bandpass. So what a bandpass filter does is literally it allows us to move the band of the filter. Got to remember which knob it is, that's the only thing. So right up into the high pass range. This is the resonance turned all the way down. Turn the audio signal up a bit. Right down into the low pass range. That's with the resonance turned up. You can hear that sweeping across. And of course it's modular, right? So we can take a copy of our low pass filter, and we could don't think I have taken the copy there. There we go. So we can have something turn the knob for us. We don't need to stand here twiddling the knob. The other cool thing with modular that you can do is you can actually mix the signal. So that modulating signal that I'm using from the low frequency oscillator here, we could use another low frequency oscillator. This one's got two, and you can see the light on this going from blue to red. So the blue is a positive voltage and the red is a negative voltage, and we can put that in. And if we put this to random, it'll mix the two kind of signals for us and modulate the filter. And we can lessen the effect of one of them because this has got attenuators on it. And there you go. So that's a bandpass filter. Hope you enjoyed the episode. It's been really great to make another video. Apologies again for the delay. That was bad of me. But anyway, we've kind of covered B. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I apologise for the low production values as always, and I look forward to seeing you next time. If you feel like liking and subscribing, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Take care. See you next time.